Hello everyone and welcome to yet another edition of New Reads. For this edition of New Reads, we are going to talk about a book called Whereabouts. It's a novel by Jhumpa Lahiri. Now, Jhumpa Lahiri, as you know, is an American author, but she has her roots very much in India. Her parents were Indian immigrants and she was born in London. She is the author of 4 works of fiction, which includes Interpreter of Maladies, The Namesake, Unaccustomed Earth, and The Lowland. Now, this book, Whereabouts, is a book that she has written this year. She has published it around April this year, and it was originally written in Italian. So that is the beauty of this book. She wrote it in Italian. Italy being a country she had lived for quite a few years. In fact, she lived in Rome for some time, and that is where she picked up the language Italian, and she wrote this particular book initially in Italian in 2018, and it was titled Do Mi Trovo. So that was the title of the Italian book, and it was published in English. It was translated into English by herself, and it was published earlier this year. And the title is Whereabouts. So this is the first book she has written after Lowland in 2013. Book in the sense, the first novel she has written since 2013. And this novel is very unique in the sense that it is not just about, one story thread being developed like you find in any other novel or in most of her other works of novel. You don't find a singular theme that is being, developed. You don't find stories. You don't find, characters who are named differently, and all of them come together to form a particular storyline that you don't find in a book. So that way this book is quite unique, and the protagonist is an unnamed lady. I mean, it could be herself, it could be somebody else, a lady who is maybe around 45 years of age. She must be in a city like Rome, for instance. In fact, later Jhumpa Lahiri herself has said that the protagonist is indeed based in Rome, but she doesn't say that in the novel. In fact, this novel doesn't contain any pronouns. I mean, she doesn't talk about any particular person, any particular place, but these are all just universal. I mean, it could be any city in the world, it could be any person, it could be any of these characters that she is encountering, but she doesn't name any particular person. So that accords a particular kind of a universality to the theme that she is trying to build up. Now, the protagonist of this novel, she is a teacher, and she goes around the city seeing things and doing things and meeting certain people. So very aptly, most of her titles, most of the chapters are named accordingly. It reflects on some of the places that you see. For instance, one of the chapters, the first chapter is titled On the Sidewalk, another is On the Street, In the Office, or In Spring, In the Piazza. So different chapters are pointers to the place where something is happening. So this lady goes to meet her friend, or she goes to a nearby shop, or she goes to the cafeteria, and then she meets some people, and then certain thoughts come into her mind. One important thing or aspect about this particular book is that it explores the loneliness of the protagonist, and in doing so, it is really exploring the loneliness of every man and woman. In fact, Jhumpa herself has said in interviews related to the book, she has said that this book is something which explores the contradictions within ourselves. So here is this woman who wants to go to a particular place, but then she decides that she doesn't want to go, or she wants to meet somebody so much, but then she's reluctant to meet him. So she's full of contradictions, just like life itself is full of contradictions. And in fact, what this novel does, it exposes the conflict that is always there within us, be it about conflict between belonging and detachment, love and hate, or guilt and joy. So these contradictions are brought out very, very subtly in this particular novel. It's a very short novel. I mean, in fact, it is something that one can go through and read very fast if you have the time. So it is around 160 pages odd book compared to other books of Jhumpa Lahiri. It is a shorter kind of a book. In fact, Jhumpa says how she has written this book. I mean, she happened to see a woman in Rome when she was, in Venice, when she was there. And later she sort of began to develop this character. She began to write more in her diaries about this character. Then she began to explore this character a little more, then find out who her friends would be, where would she be belong to, etc., etc. So that is how this entire novel was developed. And then she just kept her notebook aside when she left Rome and went back to the US. Again, when she used to come on holidays and vacations to Rome, she began to pick up this particular idea and write about it again and again. So that is how this novel has developed. And she says that it is also a novel which happened from the conflict that she had within herself when she was had to take a decision whether she had to join Princeton University, where she's got a job in the US, or whether she should continue to be in Italy, which is a place she liked very much. In fact, she talks about Rome. She says Rome is a place where she has spent so many lonely moments, but it doesn't, give you a kind of aloofness or solitude that is threatening or frightening like other cities would do. So that way, Rome is a city where she can be alone, but she can really discover herself. So that is why she was so much in love with Rome, and probably that's the reason that she was also urged to take up. She felt the urge to take up Italian as a language, and she learned the language, and she wrote a book in that particular language. So if you want to pick up this particular novel, to read a story, you might be a little disappointed, because it is not just about a story where things happen. It is about a journey through a person's mind, her observations, and also it is to a large extent raising certain questions about life itself. What does life mean? What does this journey mean? Why are we doing this? We often end up doing a lot of things which may not make too much of meaning. We do a lot of meaningless things sometimes. We talk frivolously, or we just walk around and we go around and do certain things which may not really make up so much of meaning, but we have to do it because as human beings we have to be constantly on the move. And it is this kind of a movement which gives us the ultimate momentum that we need in life to go ahead and be whatever we are. So I think sometimes when we celebrate the things that we do, we also understand sometimes the futility of some of the things that we also do. So that is the contradiction that she's trying to uh, bring out from this book. It's a book which is written in a fantastic language, which is always true about Jhumpa Lahiri and her other novels. It is very sparse, minimalistic kind of approach. She doesn't even use any words that are really not needed, or even a comma that may not be required. So, very tight language, very sparse use of words, and that is all the more attractive as far as the reading pleasure is concerned. And I would say that for a world which has experienced, for you and me who have experienced the pandemic, the loneliness that it has created sometimes, the scare it has created, it brings us, I mean, the novel brings us closer to that particular reality also, where we have to sometimes take care of our own being, in the difficult times that we are in. Um, so let me just read out a few lines from this book. I will read this particular a portion of this particular chapter called On the Street. Now and then on the streets of my neighborhood, I bump into a man I might have been involved with, maybe shared a life with. He always looks happy to see me. He lives with a friend of mine and they have 2 children. Our relationship never goes beyond a longish chat on the sidewalk, a quick coffee together, perhaps a brief stroll in the same direction. He talks excitedly about his projects, he gesticulates, and at times, as we are walking our synchronized bodies, already quite close, discreetly overlap. Once he accompanied me into a lingerie shop because I had to choose a pair of tights to wear under a new skirt. I had just bought the skirt and I needed the tights for the same evening. Our fingers grazed the textures played out on the counter as we sorted through the various colors. The binder of samples was like a book full of flimsy, transparent images. Full of flimsy, transparent pages. He was totally calm among the brass, the nightgowns, as if he were in a hardware store and not surrounded by intimate apparel. I was torn between the green and the purple. He was the one who convinced me to choose the purple, and the sales lady, putting the tights into the bag, said, "Your husband's got a great eye." Pleasant encounters like this break up our daily meanderings. We have a chaste, fleeting bond. As a result, it can't advance, it can't take the upper hand. He is a good man. He loves my friend and their children. I am content with a firm embrace, even though I don't share my life with anyone. 2 kisses on the cheeks, a short walk along a stretch of land, of road. Without saying a word to each other, we know that if we choose to, we could venture into something reckless, also pointless. So that is a short portion from this book. I think it's a lovable book and you will enjoy reading it, not only to understand some of the nuances of the character that she's portrayed here, which leads to a kind of a search within ourselves, but also the subtlety of the language, of the beautiful expression that expressive language that she has come out with, all the more which makes us love this writer, that is Jhumpa Lahiri. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.